And we're live here on YouTube. Like to welcome those listening in podcast land, and also like to welcome my buddy Rich. Rich, how you doing today?
Doing good, Mike, and it's nice to be back after taking a week off to spend some time with the missus and celebrate an anniversary, and also to do Christmas stuff.
Yeah.
So
I missed you last week. I love having you around. But you know, I think you guys did what you needed to do, and I hope you guys had fun. Do you want to share the story, or are you just gonna leave it?
No, we still had a good time.
Okay.
There was a couple of unexpected thing happened, but it was still a good time.
Meant you had to cuddle closer.
Yeah.
Which is not a bad thing on your anniversary, right?
No, it's not.
Okay,
and,
there you go. That's all we'll say.
Yeah, you did a fine job, Mike.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So
we actually have quite a bit to talk about this week. We have lots of basketball to talk about, as well as we need to take a look at hockey, and we need to make a pick. We didn't put it on there, but we'll get it up there. Okay. The Winter Classic is this week. Rich, what else are we talking about?
Well, Mike, I don't know what basketball you're referring to. It's a lot of football this week, as we got to look at week 16, all the midweek games that happened in between our shows, and as well as give you our picks for week number 17. And we're going to take a look at the NCAA football playoffs to see how our picks of the University of Texas and Georgia are doing in the tournament as we start round 2 from show to show as games start to kick off on New Year's and New Year's Eve. Well, Mike, what do we got to do first, bud?
We got to go ahead and roll the intro. Broadcasting live from somewhere in Iowa, this is Balls and Sticks, the podcast, with your hosts, Mike and Rich. And we're back. Okay, Rich, just so you know, I put it under the hockey, or under the NCAA.
I did forget about the Winter Classic as something to predict.
Yeah.
But we'll get to what our picks are when we get there within the outline.
I think I'm going to shock you, by the way.
Okay. Mike, we always have a poll question that we start the show off with, and it was the spinal of the cereals, Mike. And oddly enough, Mike, it was a battle of Captain Crunch, with Captain Crunch versus Captain Crunch with Crunch Berries. Mike, I went with the Captain Crunch with Crunch Berries. I like the extra flavor if I'm going to have Captain Crunch. Where did you go, Mike?
I went with Crunch Berries. You got to have the Crunch Berries. Like, I don't know how that's even a thing. Apparently, I might have accidentally voted twice.
Ooh.
So, I did accidentally vote twice. So,
okay.
I can
Mike,
change it quick.
What were our results to know what's going to take on biscuits and gravy?
We had 7 votes.
Okay.
We had 1 vote for Captain Crunch. That's Alex Cruz. That's a buddy of mine up here. Shout out to Alex. For your Crunch Berries, you had Mikey Hart. You had Tina Shriepeck, Ashley Shriepeck, Gail Welchman, Brandon Close, Rich Hendricks, Eric Thompson. There's another vote in there from Balls and Sticks, unless one of our wives got on one of our accounts.
No, I don't think it was.
But watch this. I can fix that and take it away. So, hey, look there. It's right. It reflects correctly. So, 87% of you think Crunch Berries are worth the thing. By the way, they don't charge you extra for the Crunch Berries. You ever think about that?
They don't. It's the same price.
It's the same price. Why wouldn't you get the Crunch Berries?
Also,
Rich, have you ever driven through Cedar Rapids when they're making Crunch Berries?
I have not.
So good.
All right, Mike. So that means that Captain Crunch with Crunch Berries will move on to our ultimate breakfast showdown, as they will take on biscuits and gravy. I'll try and get that poll up after we get off of air. And that's all I'm going to say about it, because we've said too many times that, well, this is no match, or
I
should be an easy one, and
I genuinely don't know how.
surprised us.
I don't know how you people are going to vote. I just don't.
All right, Mike, let's go over to the gridiron for
Yeah.
week number 16. Mike, how'd the Bears game go?
Which one? And not good. And which one? We'll start with week 16 games as we talk about. Lions played the Bears. The Lions won 34-17. We both picked the Lions, and so we both were accurate on this. The Bears fell to 4-11 on the season. You and I, Rich, we're at 10-5. Rich, locks of the week. You picked the Bills over the Patriots. The Bills won 24-21, raising you to 10.
Mike, I was sweating that one out as I was watching the score on the scroll.
What's my number one rule about locks of the week?
You stay away from the division games.
Yeah, next week we can't. I don't think there's a way we can, but you stay away from division games, and you picked a division game, and you almost got bit by it. Rich, how'd I do?
All right, so I was 10-6. Mike, you picked the Cardinals over the Carolina Panthers. A perennial pick of you picking against the Panthers, and this time, it finally happened. They finally pulled out a victory. It was 36-30. Panthers in overtime, dropping you to 15-1.
Yeah.
Upset special. Mike, I went with the Titans over the Colts. The Titans made it interesting at the end, but ultimately ran out of time as it was 38-30. Colts dropping me down to 4-12. Mike, how did your matchup go?
I picked the Commanders over the Eagles. The Commanders won 36-33. I'm up to 6-10. Rich, Christmas game number one, Chiefs versus the Steelers. We both picked the Chiefs. Chiefs win 29-10, and it wasn't even that close. They clinched the number one seed in the AFC. Christmas game number two, Rich.
Number two was the Ravens and the Texans. Mike, you went with the Texans. I went with the Ravens. Mike, this one was even worse game as it was 32-2.
By the way, I do find it amazing that the Texans were able to get a touchback, yet couldn't do anything else, and apparently couldn't stop them from scoring. Mm-hmm. But they still got a touchback, or not a touchback, a safety.
All right, Mike, and the final game for our midweek games was the Thursday night Week 17 game between the Seahawks and the Bears to wrap up Thursday night football.
I don't even want to talk about it.
All right, so we won't. But you went. I went with the Seahawks. Mike, you picked the Bears, as we both kind of agreed. Even though I wasn't on the show, I gave you the comment of this was probably the one game that I thought Thomas Brown had a chance in. He did, as it was a close game, a very 6-3 battle of the punters.
Yeah.
And with the Seahawks coming out on top. That improves my record to 11-5 in the Bears games. You are 10-6. The Bears dropped to 4-12. And overall, our midweek totals. Mike, I am 16-7. Mike, you finished the year 12-11.
Okay, so I do want to talk about this game a little bit.
Okay.
And here's my problem. Rich, you're an interim head coach.
Mm-hmm.
What do you have to lose for? What do you have, what does playing conservatively gain you in this day? Like, you know, this is a game that you likely the last game you're going to be able to win of the year. What are you worried about losing? You only got one more game, and it's against the Packers. What are you worried? Why don't you? There were fourth down spots. Just go for it. The second half, just go for it. What's it hurt you? Your defense is doing a great job. You've been doing mediocre-ish. Go for it on fourth down.
And wouldn't you say if this was Dan Campbell at the mic, he'd be going for him?
Every one of them. And I think they win the game. You got to win a game. Like, at this point, you know you're not gonna get the head coach job, right? Like, you know coming in,
I don't think that's going on.
So if you're not going to get the head coach job, if you know that already, why not play with house money? Why not throw the dice? You got nothing to lose. You lost. Why'd you call that? Why'd you do that on the fourth down there? Why not? That's my answer.
I wanted to show confidence in my players, that I believed in them.
By the way,
it just didn't work out.
Maybe you go for it and it sparks your team to do something more. And all of a sudden you win this dang game. I think the problem with him, with Thomas, is that he's been too conservative this entire time. And this week's game, to me, could have been avoided if he just would have gone for it. I don't know if they win, but I think if you go for it, you go with the gusto, you have a lot better chance.
Yeah, but they were sacking Caleb Williams a lot. 7 sacks. I think he's on record. He's on pace to be sacked the most times in a rookie season.
They have to sack him 10 times next week.
The way that offensive line's been playing, that's not out of the realm of possibility.
Oh, I agree. I'm just saying he's got to get sacked 10 times.
So maybe he was protecting his quarterback, but I don't.
If you're protecting, if your goal is to protect your quarterback, take him out.
Let Agent play the last 2 games.
Why not? Like, if your worry is you're going to hurt your quarterback, who's in a week and a half not even going to be your quarterback anymore, what do you care?
Well, he's going to be the Bears' quarterback, just not Thomas Brown's quarterback.
But he's not Thomas Brown's quarterback.
No.
So if you care enough that you want to protect him, sit him down. You're not playing for anything. And if your goal is to prove that he's good, by the way, he is. Caleb Williams is amazing. Best thing about this team right now. Threw 1 interception in the last 8 games?
Mm-hmm.
1. 360 attempts and threw 1 interception. Now my fear is that next week what's going to happen is Thomas Brown's going to come out and just go for it every time.
Or he beats a Packers team that's resting key players because they can't improve their playoff seeding.
Yeah.
Because the Packers have already clinched. In theory, they have nothing to play for.
Yeah, so they can't do any worse in the... They technically can't do any worse in the playoffs. They can't be seeded any lower, I believe, if I remember how it plays out. Speaking of which, let's take a look.
Currently, they're the number 6 seed.
Let's take a look at the playoff standings. So this week, the Commanders are the only other team that has 10 wins. They are playing the Falcons this week. And so if they win this week, and then who do they play next week? Next week they play Dallas. So if Washington wins out, they would be... If Washington wins out and the Packers would have to win next week in order to maintain that 6th spot. If the Packers win out, they're guaranteed a 6th spot. They might get a 5th. So that game matters.
So the way the standing works for the Packers, if you can get up, would you rather go to LA and face the Rams, or try and get that number, or if they drop down to the 7th seed, they get the Eagles?
Yeah. Man.
If they drop down, because I don't think they can get up to the number 5 seed to go down to Atlanta.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that I would want either. Like, they can't drop. So, Rams or Eagles? At this point, I probably want the Eagles. Because I don't think that Jalen Hurt's going to be back, is he?
He's in concussion protocol, so he's not going to play this week.
He'll be questionable for next week.
And I could see them sitting him for their Week 18 game if that doesn't matter. If the division's not on the line.
Yeah. So if Atlanta wins and the Eagles win, the Packers can't do anything, can't change their position. So, yeah, at that point, if that happens, you don't need to play anybody. Who cares? Maybe it's a divisional game, so you might care there, but yeah. Okay, with that, let's move into
Week 17, Mike.
Yeah,
so
week
it is
17.
an odd week. So it is your choice. Mike, who are you going with for your lock of the week to hopefully get back on track?
I'm going to go with the Buffalo Bills over the Jets.
All right, Mike. You're breaking your rule of not picking a divisional game, but I'm sure you're using the same logic that I did last week, in that the Bills are hot, and even a division game isn't going to make a difference.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
So, Rich, who you got? Lock of the week.
I'm going to go with the Dolphins over the Browns. I know it's going to be cold weather. It's probably going to be a cold day on the shores of Lake Erie.
Yeah.
But that Browns team is looking terrible with a third-string quarterback. With Dorian Thompson-Robinson. And the Dolphins went out to San Francisco and got a road win, shutting down a team that basically plays the same style of offense that they do.
Yeah. So, any thought to the fact that the Browns... Well, we'll talk about it in some of the news. We'll talk about some of the news there, too. Okay. With the upset special of the week, I think I'm going to pick the Raiders over the Saints.
Okay. It's not a bad pick. It can go either way. It's a battle of teams that probably shouldn't be winning games.
Yeah.
At this point in the year.
Who wants to screw up their position worse?
And right now I think it's the Raiders, because probably Antonio Pierce is fighting for his job.
Yep.
I think the Saints coach knows he might get an interview, he's probably not guaranteed that job.
By the way, that made me want to ask you, so should the Cardinals head coach be working on his resume? Because normally if you lose to the Panthers, you lose your job.
I don't think so. They got a lot invested in that group.
Okay. Rich, your upset special of the week.
Ooh. Mike, I was originally going with Falcons over the Commanders, but I'd rather see Baker Mayfield and the Buccaneers in the playoffs. And the Falcons need the win, so I'm going to go with the divisional game, and I'm going to go Packers over the Vikings.
Ooh, okay. I want to see the least. I actually want the Vikings to win that game. Mostly because I want to see
Packers over the Vikings. I really love Detroit this year. They're kind of like my adopted team this year, and if they're gonna have success in the playoffs, they need to be at home in Detroit. Although I think with the way the playoff bracket is set up, even if they lose and go down to the 5th seed as a wild card, they still play all their home games, all their road games in a dome anyway.
Yep. Okay.
All right, Mike, so there's no Thursday night football as the Seahawks and the Bears closed out that docket. So, Mike, are you ready for some power rankings?
I suppose I have some. There's some stuff to talk about in the power rankings. Let's do all of the power rankings this week, because a lot of the rest of the show is going to go by kind of quick.
All right. So, Mike, we'll go from the top and work our way down to the bottom.
Let's do it. So, at number 1, I have the Buffalo Bills.
Me too. Record-wise, the Chiefs have a better record, but I think the Bills, even at 12-3, they beat the Chiefs.
They beat the Chiefs
and the Chiefs
and the
have had
Lions.
a lot of.
They beat the
and
Chiefs and the Lions. That in and of itself screams volumes. You beat the best
and the
two
Chiefs
teams.
have also had a lot of fluke victories.
Well, and you
blocked field goals.
Let's be honest. You beat the best two
times.
teams in the league. Like, arguably, you've beaten the best. Like the Lions and the Chiefs are the best two teams in the league right now, and you beat both of them. You beat one of them, that could be a fluke. You beat both of them, that's something serious. I agree. Number 2, I have the Lions.
Me too.
And I kind of feel guilty about this, because record-wise, the Chiefs are better. But like you said, they're winning cheap sometimes. Yeah, I don't.
And a lot of their victories are kind of have you scratching your head, like, are the refs colluding with this team?
And there is
some of the calls they don't get or they do get.
There are teams that have signed and have asked to see a investigation on the Chiefs to see if there has been some collusion with the refs and blah blah blah. I get it, but if the refs are in their pocket, aren't they the best team in the league anyway, and it doesn't matter? Like, but I still have the Lions here. And at number 3, the Kansas City Chiefs.
Me too.
Okay, so let me give you the ELO actually has it 1 Chiefs, 2 Bills, 3 Lions.
Okay. Well, and that's fair. I mean, the Chiefs are 15-1.
Yep. And the ELO is very heavy about if you win. Winning helps you a ton. So, yeah.
Number 4, Mike, because this is where I have the Minnesota Vikings.
Man, Rich, are you in my brain right now? I think you're in my brain.
I'm starting to think you copied my rankings.
I did not.
Okay.
Yeah, I got number 4 is the Vikings. The ELO has the Ravens at number 4. At number 5, Rich, I have the Green Bay Packers.
All right, our first disagreement is I have the Baltimore Ravens here at number 5.
Okay. I have the Baltimore Ravens still a little bit lower. We'll get there in a second. At number 6.
So like I said, we in our pregame talk, I did cut what happened on Wednesday. What happened on Wednesday and Thursday did play into my rankings, and that was a dominant victory over the Texans division champ. So number 6 is where I have the Green Bay Packers.
Okay. And number 6 is where I have the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Okay. I have the Steelers a little bit lower. We'll get to them.
Okay. At number 7, I have the Baltimore Ravens.
7 is where I have the Commanders.
Okay. At number 8, I have the Eagles.
That's where I put them too. Yeah, they have a better record than Washington and Green Bay and Baltimore, but their next 2 games look a little cloudy without Jalen Hurts under center, and they're playing Kenny Pickett.
Yeah, I think that probably is accurate, and I think next week as that plays out, as we see the game on Sunday play out, I think that'll be much more of a read, and we'll see that a bit more of a issue there. Rich, so that was number 8. We're on
9. The number 9. Number 9 is where I have the Pittsburgh Steelers.
This is where I have the Commanders.
Okay.
So yeah, and at number 10, Rich, I have the Denver Broncos.
I put the LA Rams here.
I can buy that, and you're probably in playoff mode for that.
A little bit. They've got their division.
Yep. So let me give you the ELO breakdown, and then we will. Then we'll also give you what the power rankings are. So I have a way that I figure out power rankings, and I'll give that to you in just a second. It's a little bit different. So from 3, we go to 4. 4 is the Baltimore Ravens. 5 is the Philadelphia Eagles. 6 is the Green Bay Packers. 7 is the Vikings. 8 is the Rams. 9 is a team neither one of us has talked about, the Bucks. And at number 10, they have the Denver Broncos. Rich, the way our power rankings work has eye test rating. So it takes eye test rating, the wins loss, the ELO, and it combines all those to and it multiplies it in a way that it kind of takes an average of it and gives a ranking for it. Okay? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So, with that, they have the Buffalo Bills 1, tied with the Kansas City Chiefs for 1. The Lions are number 3. Number 4 are the Vikings. Number 5 would be the Baltimore Ravens. Number 6 is the Packers. Number 7 is the Eagles. Number 8 is the Rams. Number 9 is the Steelers. And number 10 is the Broncos. At 11, our power points, or our official power rankings, is the Washington Commanders. Rich?
Mike, I put Jim Harbaugh's Superchargers here at number 11.
I like that, but I put the Rams here at 11, and the ELO actually has the Bengals at 11. That's a head scratcher for me. Who do you have at 12?
12 is where you put the Denver Broncos.
Okay, at number 12, I have the Superchargers, as well as the ELO and the power rankings. So, at number 13, Rich, we're going to go with our power rankings. Have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I have the Texans. And who do you have, Rich?
I put the Cincinnati Bengals.
Okay.
I really like the way that, I think the Bengals would have a better record if they had not dropped those first 4 games. And the fact that they're still in the playoff.
Yeah, that's true.
They're still in the playoff hunt.
Yeah.
And right now, using that whole thing of, all right, if they played head-to-head, I think they beat the Texans, who are currently in the playoffs, and they would beat the Atlanta Falcons, who are currently in the playoffs.
Yeah,
2 mediocre teams that are only in the playoffs because they're playing in a weak division.
Yeah, I can get that. I can buy that. And the ELO has the Seattle Seahawks at 13. Again, I don't make it up, but the ELO was also grabbed today, so it includes the week as a whole. So at 14, who do you got, Rich?
Number 14 is I put the Houston Texans here.
This is where I have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Okay.
Power rankings have the Bengals, and ELO has a tie, and so it would be Seattle and/or Pittsburgh is actually tied there. At 15, who do you got, Rich?
I went with the Dirty Birds, the Atlanta Falcons.
I agree, and the ELO has the Niners, and Texans are 15 for the power rankings. At 16, Rich, I have the Cincinnati Bengals.
This is where I put Baker Mayfield and the Buccaneers.
Okay.
I really do want to see him in the playoffs, but when it comes down to tiebreakers and who has the divisions, that's why the Falcons are ranked ahead of the Buccaneers. But they're in the middle because both teams are struggling. They just can't pull away.
Yep. Neither team's doing great. So, at 17, I have the Seattle Seahawks.
That's where I put the Seahawks as well. I did not consider their victory over the Bears to move them up.
I actually think it could have moved. I think I moved them down from last week. I think I moved them down from last week because of it. I didn't. Yeah, I think I did. Cause
I know I did not. I don't think I updated my rankings this morning to account for the Bears game. I only inputted that as a win in my power rankings.
I think I put it down, and I think it actually hurt them because they were a terrible. Like, how do you win by only 3 points against a team like that? Yeah, that's a terrible game. At number 18, Rich, this is where I have the Dallas Cowboys.
I have Miami here.
Okay. Well, then I put Miami at 19.
That's where I put the Cowboys.
Okay, we just flip-flop. At 20, I think the Colts.
I agree. I put the Colts here as well.
And at 21?
The Cardinals.
Me too. 22.
The 49ers.
Get out of my head. So you're going to tell me that the Saints are 23?
Yes, they are.
Who do you got at 24?
The New York Jets.
Okay, you just read your list, and I'm guessing that I'm going to be right on board with you because, 24 is the Jets, 25.
The Panthers.
Yep, and 26 is where I have the Bears.
Me too.
They are.
Me too.
By the way, and honestly, if we took the head-to-head battle argument, any of the teams below them that you believe they could beat today, I think one. I think one is a guarantee. I think the rest of them are close matches. Because we have to have the same bottom five at this point, or bottom six.
Yeah, I think it would be close games against the Titans, Patriots, and Raiders. Maybe even the Jacks. I think they could be. I think they could go out and beat Cleveland and New York and the football Giants.
I think the Cleveland game could be a lot closer. The current Cleveland team, you're right. I think they beat. I think you're right. But I think anybody else in that bottom tier, like legitimately, could be.
It's going to be a close game.
It's going to be a close game, and I don't know that the Bears win any of them.
All right. So number 27, I put the Titans.
27, I have the Patriots.
We're not far off. I have the Patriots 28.
At 28, I have the Jags.
Okay, I have the Jags a little bit lower. 29, I put the Raiders.
This is where I have the Tennessee Titans.
Okay. But these teams are all 3-12, so I don't think the order matters that much.
No, I don't think so either. At 30, this is where I have the Browns.
I have the Browns a little bit lower.
Can't be much lower.
I put the Jaguars at 30.
Okay. That settles that one. At 31, I have the Vegas Raiders.
I put the Browns here.
Okay. Okay, yeah. I mean, that's...
I mean, the Raiders... for me, yeah, the Jaguars seem to have... They beat the Colts, which are a team that ranked really higher. But at least the Titans have beaten a division-leading Texans and a Dolphins team that's in the hunt. The Colts really aren't in the hunt as much. Yeah, and the Raiders they beat the Ravens. They beat the Ravens and the Browns and Ravens, Browns and Jaguars, who are ranked lower. So you got to have them above those two teams.
I suppose that would be, that does hold water. So okay. So I mean, the only answer, the only thing left,
and then the last team being the football Giants.
Yeah. By the way, how about the fact that the Bears could have the worst record in football if all of these teams win out?
Now you've got me struggling. Okay. So the Titans take on the Jaguars.
Okay. They don't.
So one of those teams got to lose.
One of those teams loses, but the week after that team wins, they're 4-12, or they're 4-12, which is
the Raiders take
where
on
the Bears
Aints.
will be.
The Raiders take on the Aints. The Colts,
can win
the
that game.
Giants go to the Colts.
They can win that game.
And then to close out the season, Mike, the Texans Titans, and the Colts. The Jaguars go to Indy.
But if the Texans win this week,
they're already locked into the playoffs, I think.
I'm sorry. If the Titans win this week, then they'll already be 4-12, so they'll be at worst tied with the Bears.
Yeah, the Jaguars go to Indianapolis.
Again, that's a winnable game.
The Raiders welcome the Chargers into town.
That's a divisional game, so you never know what's happening.
Okay. The Bills take on the Patriots. The Bills go to
the Bills aren't going to drop
Foxborough.
The Bills aren't going to drop that game, but fine.
And yeah.
Who do the Giants have?
The football Giants take on the Eagles,
who may not be playing for anything.
I think it'd be a hard thing for the Bears to be the have the worst record. They could be tied for the worst record, which might get them into the top 5.
The worst they can do is be tied for the worst record. The worst they can do is be tied for the worst, because the Giants would have to win both games in order to make it to 4-12 or 4-13. I'm sorry, 4-13. Any of the New England through Vegas only has to win one of the next 2 games, and we've already said one of those teams automatically will have the same record as the Bears at the end of this week, which I think puts the Bears down one more step. The Bears are worse than most of these teams. I think the Bears are going to be a bottom 5 team by the end of the year, and they could be a bottom 2 team easily. I think easily they could be a bottom 2 team by the end of the year, and that's just one more week.
We'll find that out, Mike, in 2 weeks. So obviously we'll talk power rankings next week.
Yep.
With the weeks with the full results of week number 17, and it might even be worth it to do one last power rankings before the playoffs start.
I think we should. Just because because it will change. The Bears may change between now and then, and that's the only.
I believe so.
Yeah. Okay.
So, Mike, before we go on to the NCAA football playoffs, is there any other NFL news or notes that you'd like to touch on?
So, did you see that Deshaun Watson has come to an agreement to reconfigure his contract with the Browns? Again, with the Browns.
Okay. Yeah,
which
I did kind of skim that article.
So what that to me indicates is that he expects to be there next year.
I think they've already come out and said that he's going to be our starting quarterback.
Wow.
They've paid him this much,
and
he's going to be on the team.
Most of his money's guaranteed. He's like, cutting him doesn't save you anything. So, wow. That's nuts.
Yeah. Now the other thing that I have seen is that the Browns signed Kirk Cousins to a minimum contract, to the league minimum, similar to what the Steelers did with Russell Wilson this year, because the Falcons are going to be paying the remainder of his contract, which is also fully guaranteed.
Did he officially get cut?
Not yet.
Oh, okay. I mean, yeah.
Why would you keep him around?
Yeah.
Why would you keep him around?
Because you got to pay him. He's been a backup before. You're paying
I like
him.
the idea of Cousins going somewhere else, and
I don't like it at the Browns. I don't want him to be helping that team out. I like Kirk Cousins. Anyway, let's. Any other news for you for the NFL?
I do not. So,
okay. Let's.
I don't know. Maybe coach is on the hot seat, but that's all speculative talk at this point. So we can wait 2 weeks to talk about coaches on the hot seat. I think
Yeah.
so. Maybe we'll put that on the show. Put that on the next week's outline to maybe make predictions
Okay.
of what other jobs we think will come up. So Mike, we'll go over to the college football playoff,
which we know nothing
Mike,
about.
Not much. So Mike, the team that you picked was on bye, as the University of Georgia will take on Notre Dame, which had a decisive victory over Indiana.
That's probably the scariest thing to me right now. That they're playing Notre Dame game 2.
Yeah, especially with the backup quarterback, because their starting quarterback Carson Beck is out for the year.
Yeah. Did
he didn't opt out. He's injured.
Oh, okay.
He's injured. He has nothing to do with opting out. So you're going to see. So your Georgia Bulldogs will take on Notre Dame on Wednesday, on January 1st, in the Sugar Bowl in New Orleans. The other side of the bracket saw Penn State blow out SMU. They will move on. They will move on to the Fiesta Bowl to take on Boise's number 3 Boise State. The other quarterfinal games were Tennessee and Ohio State, with Ohio State winning decisively. They will move on and face number 1 overall seed Oregon, and my pick of the University of Texas beat Clemson and will take on the Big 12 champion Arizona State. I'll have to get Mike's opinion once he comes back. Oregon. Okay. All right, Mike.
Yeah.
So we won't write these down with all. What are your thoughts? I don't know if you'll watch these games. I might watch, might not. But we'll just go rapid fire here. Boise State, Penn State, Mike, in the Fiesta Bowl.
Penn State.
I agree. Arizona or Texas?
Texas.
Me too. I picked Texas to win it all. Oregon, Ohio State. One game that's kind of hard to pick. I can see it going either way because they've been Oregon.
It's the Ducks. I think the Ducks win this one.
I want to see the Ducks win it. But this was a close game from the Big Ten Championship. I think it was like 33-32.
And who came on top?
Oregon.
They did what they had to do.
All right, Georgia, Notre Dame.
I want it to be Georgia so bad. But part of me loves the Fighting Irish too. But I'm going to stick with Georgia. I think Georgia pulls it off.
Okay. I think Notre Dame almost gets this victory. Going up against a backup quarterback.
Yeah, I think so too. Which, by the way, wasn't announced until after we made our picks.
It was. You are correct. So, Mike, we'll have those games to recap next week, as you'll see. Boise State, Penn State in the Fiesta Bowl is on Tuesday.
And
it's on Tuesday the 31st. Wednesday. The remaining games will be on January 1st.
Yeah.
Catch all those games on ESPN. So, Mike, when
ABC
or ESPN.
Yeah.
So, Mike, when we reconvene and record on the 4th or the 5th of next week, 3rd or the 4th, sorry, we'll have those games to recap and pick in the semifinals.
Yeah. So, Rich,
let's get to that hockey talk.
Yeah.
That you were referring to, Mike. We got the Winter Classic, which is being played on New Year's Eve, not New Year's Day.
So weird.
Over on TNT.
And it's on TNT. This used to be an NBC exclusive. It used to be, yeah. It makes me sad. I'm excited for it, but I'm hoping I get to watch it even. I don't know. I might not. I might be at work all day. We'll see.
On New Year's Eve?
Yeah. We'll see. I'm going to talk to my boss Monday about it, but we'll see. Okay, so Rich, you pull up. Before we get to that, let's talk about rankings and where teams stand.
Okay, so let me pull up our predictions.
Yep.
Now, Mike, so I'll let you get the standings. I will get who we picked.
Okay.
So going over to our NHL tab. Ta-da. So Mike, I put the Rangers. So where are the Rangers over the Wild? Where are those two teams in the standings?
The Rangers are second to last. They wouldn't be against the Wild in the Metropolitan Division, or did we just do?
We just did the conference.
Oh.
So right now,
Well,
the
Rangers. The Rangers are in the East, and the
yes, they
Wild
are
are in the West.
They're in the Eastern Conference. Mike, they're currently 16-17, and they have 33 points. So they're not going to make the playoffs.
Well, they might. Dude, it's so early right now.
It is.
Okay, what was the team you said I picked?
I hadn't gotten to yours yet.
Oh. Okay.
I hadn't gotten to yours.
I thought you
yet.
were talking. Okay, you were talking your two teams. I thought you were saying my team. Yeah, the Wild are 36. They probably make the playoffs.
Okay, so right now,
points.
I figured it out the
Sorry.
ESPN on the app. The Rangers right now are not in a position to make the playoffs, and they are currently
But it's super early, man.
3 teams above them.
Yeah, it's
Mike,
super
your
early.
preseason pick on the Eastern Conference was the Florida Panthers. The Panthers are currently 22-12 and have 46 points and have the number 2 seed.
Yeah.
And are number 2.
Yep.
All right. Over on the Western Conference, Mike, I picked the Minnesota Wild, who are currently 22-10 and have 48 points.
Yep.
By points, they are number 2. Mike, you picked the Edmonton Oilers.
They are 21-11, 11-2 with 44 points.
Putting them at number 3 in points in their conference.
Yeah.
And Mike are
4.
Yeah.
4th in the conference.
And Mike, the Chicago Blackhawks have a record of 12 and 22 with only 26 points.
Yep.
Putting them last place in the entire league. Not just their conference, the league.
Yep, that's okay.
All right, Mike, so that sets up the Winter Classic.
Yep.
Which will be at Wrigley Field.
By the way,
with the hometown Blackhawks.
The Blues are at 17-16 with a points total of 38. That puts them somewhere in the middle, the bottom half. I hate the Blackhawks, but growing up, I was a Blackhawks fan, and when you're bred a Blackhawks fan, you hate the Blues. And I hate the Blues. I just can't do it. I can't do it.
So are you rooting for a tie so that neither team wins?
Yes.
Okay. Well, so you want a tie so they can go to a shootout?
Yes.
Okay. I can respect that. I think the Blues come out on top. That this Hawks team is rebuilding, so I don't see it going well. Nah, they're not going to sell the team, Mike.
Sell the team.
It's been in the family too long. They're not going to sell the team.
Speaking of which, did you hear the chants at the game last night? At the end of the game,
I did.
I'm like,
with the Bears, sell the team. That was what even the post game coverage with Amazon was acknowledging. That's what the fans were chanting.
Yeah. I don't think that's a viable thing to do. One, you want to talk about being in the family too long. How about since its existence? The Hallis McCaskey family have owned this team since day one. You ain't taking away from them. So we'll go back. So Rich, hockey. Are you gonna watch?
I might watch.
Okay.
I might watch.
Okay. So while we're still at Wrigley Field, boom, like that transition, Rich. Let's talk Cubs news. Oh, let's do it. Ooh.
Mike, for reference, that is a 4:00 game on TNT, Max, or True TV.
I'll be home for that.
4:00 game.
I ain't staying any later. Okay.
All right, Mike, but going back to Wrigley Field.
We got lots to talk about. The Cubs have been...
Two things to talk about. Kind of old news, but what we've kind of been keeping on the back burner. But the Cubs acquired all-star right fielder Kyle Tucker for the Astros, only giving up to where they gave up. There you go. Got to click on who they acquired on that one. It's been so long. So they gave up Isaac Paredes.
Which one? Which
game? They acquired from the Rays last year. I'm sorry?
Which one? Who are you talking about?
We're going to go with the Kyle Tucker trade first.
Okay.
So they gave up third baseman and utility guy Isaac Paredes, who they acquired from the Rays last year, with swing starter or long reliever Hayden Wisniewski, and our number one draft pick, our first-round draft pick last year, third baseman Cam Smith.
I'm okay with all of those being traded, mostly because we have and I have other deals coming up that I think are even bigger deals. But
I agree. I think
right
Cam
field,
Smith is down.
Go ahead.
Cam Smith is low enough down in the minors that he wasn't going to be an impact right away, and
it was
currently
going to be 2 or 3 years
by,
at best.
Yeah, and he's currently blocked by Matt Shaw, who's projected to be the starting third baseman now with Paredes going over to Houston.
Yep. So what else did we do? We signed a free agent Luis Mata to a minor league contract. Not a big deal. Catcher Carson Kelly we picked up. Signed off.
Not a bad deal. Not a bad deal to platoon with Miguel Amaya.
Yep. And then we got a bunch of minor league starters, which always a good thing to do. Get as many minor league starters as you can, because who cares? But then the monster trade that happened December 17th. Cody Bellinger has left Chicago, and the Cubs got Cody Potet. How is that not headline news?
I think it was. I think maybe it didn't grab as many headlines as the Kyle Tucker trade did.
Yeah.
Because Bellinger was the odd man out.
He was the odd man out, but I think getting Cody as a right-handed pitcher who looks like he has tons of potential. Yeah, he's only played 3 games in the majors.
If anything, he's good depth. He's good depth, either have as a swingman in the bullpen or a spot starter, or he's down in AAA Iowa, ready to be called up when an injury happens.
I think he's actually going to be great for the team. I think he is I think we'll see him do a lot more this year than just sit in minors. I don't know. I think he's going to be great.
All right, Mike. So around the horn right now, your outfield is Hap, Crow Armstrong, and Kyle Tucker.
Awesome outfield.
Good outfield. And in the infield, you're probably going to see Matt Shaw, Dansby Swanson, Nico Horner, and Michael Busch.
Yep.
Not bad.
I'm okay with that.
Your catching combo will be Kelly and Amaya, and then your DH is Seiya Suzuki.
Yep.
I mean, I've read some things where Suzuki isn't happy about a potential DH role, to where, and maybe feeling that maybe he's been taken for granted for a solid season, so he could be on the trading block. I think if I had the choice, I would have taken Cody instead of Saya. But because at least you have a little bit more flexibility with Bellinger over Suzuki. But I'm not upset. But on the contract side, Bellinger made a lot more than Suzuki. So
yeah, I think it's a great thing for us. I think.
And in their trade for Tucker, you didn't have to give up Matt Shaw or Owen Casey.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this is a huge spot for us to be in.
All right, and then your starting rotation, Shota Imanaga, not in any order, but Imanaga, Steele, Matt Boyd, Jamison Teon, and either Javier Assad or Ben Brown or Jordan Wicks. So they actually have some depth in the starting rotation for once, I think. It's leaning a lot on the lefty side, more on the left-handers than right-handers.
But you also have Jamison Teon.
Yep, Teon's your right-hander.
Great right-hander there. So I think they have enough depth that they're going to be able to make something work.
Yeah, they still need a closer. They still could use a couple arms for the bullpen. As really for me, Eli Morgan and some starters that maybe some guys that you were expecting to be starters could go to the bullpen, but nothing's really moving the needle for me.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think there's a lot going on. I think there's a lot of exciting. I think the moves that they've made have been very smart and very calculated. I like where they're at. I like what it looks like. But the hard part is last year at this time, didn't I say a lot of the same things?
You did, and that was probably before they signed, before Cody Bellinger was back in the fold for sure.
Yeah. So, now, the biggest news to come out of Wrigleyville in 5 years?
Yeah, I think so.
Maybe 7 years or 8 years. Maybe 8 years. Yeah, I think it's the biggest news to come out of Wrigleyville in 8 years. We are welcoming back Sammy Sosa into the fold. Now, as a fan, and I think you and I have talked about it for years, we thought Sammy Sosa is what he did wrong. Little, maybe?
I think with the apologies, just as much had to do with how he left the team in leaving the dugout, leaving the clubhouse while the game was going on.
Yep.
Because he was pulled from the game or he didn't start in the last home game. Yeah. And then having the team react to that, how much preferential treatment that he got by smashing his boombox, because him being the senior superstar on the team, he got to choose the clubhouse music.
Yeah.
At the time. He's not admitting that he's not really being specific, at least in the public statement. He's not being specific with what he did.
Right.
But he's saying what he did could be perceived as being wrong, and he's sorry for that.
Yeah. Which, because of that, by the way, you gotta love how ESPN focuses on the fact that it's about the PEDs more than, like you said, his exit from the team. But as a Cubs fan, how do you feel? I mean, I have given up hating. In fact, I don't think I've hated Sammy Sosa once in my lifetime. I was disappointed with how he left, but I could understand it. He knew it was his last game. The team knew it was his last game. Let him play. Let him start. But
yeah,
go ahead.
So I'm glad they finally put this away. They finally buried the hatchet between the two with him. I think it did him making this public statement about how he admits to his mistakes, and that's what the Cubs needed to welcome him back. So he's invited to the Cubs convention, and I think he's a Cubs Hall of Famer.
Oh, by far and away. I think he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame because him and Mark McGwire saved baseball. Like, do you seriously think we're talking baseball as much as you and I do if it wasn't for what he did for baseball?
Probably not. And I think I even saw a post today on my feed talking about, you know what, MLB just needs to acknowledge that, yes, steroids were a part of the game.
They were.
So people like Sosa and Roger Clemens and Barry Bonds and Sammy Sosa, maybe even Mark McGwire.
Here's my problem.
Could get into the Hall of Fame.
When they were
now they're being blackballed.
When they were using steroids, did anybody have a problem with them using steroids?
No.
When they were using steroids
are performance-enhancing drugs.
Whatever you want to call it. I don't care. We're going to call them steroids because that's what they were. But we all knew it. We all knew what was happening. None of us are surprised at the whole ordeal. Why do we make such a big deal out of it? Why does Major League Baseball make a big deal out of it? Like, it's a thing. Baseball was cashing the checks. Baseball was celebrating Sammy and Mark McGwire. But now that, all these things, it all came, I don't care. I don't care. Get over yourselves. You guys accepted the money. You guys should. If MLB is not going to take responsibility for it, then why should anybody else? Why should any of these guys take responsibility for it?
Yeah. So, Mike, with Sammy be back in the fold, did he do enough for the team that his jersey number 21 deserves to be retired? And maybe does he get a statue one day? Does this ownership group of Wickets really did dig in and blackball Sammy all these years?
I don't like that. I've never liked that. It's been one of those things that we've been vocal on here about how much we disagree with that. What I'll say, I know in my head what the I have two in my head.
Yeah.
Two poses. Sammy sidestepping with his hands up, watching the ball go as he's sidestepping down to first. That's step one.
So the sidestepping, like the little hop after he hits one?
That little hop that he did. That everybody knows about. Everybody knows it. You saw it. You were there. Or the
I don't know how you get that into a statue.
I don't know how you get maybe like I don't care. It's one of those two. Those are the statues. Tell me I'm wrong.
Yeah, I like the hop skip in the air a little bit. For me, I think right now.
Were you ever at a home run game for him? Did you ever get to a game with him?
Yeah, I think so.
I think I did. I'm pretty sure I did too, and I think I've seen him hit a home run.
Yeah. I don't think the statue will come unless he gets inducted into the Hall of Fame, because that's the continuation of all the Cubs statues that they have.
You're saying the Cubs Hall of Fame.
Hall of Fame players. Just a Cubs Hall, but I think a Cubs Hall of Fame induction, and maybe his number unofficially being retired. to where nobody gets number 21. Because the Cubs don't have very many retired numbers either. Those players correspond to being Hall of Fame players.
I think he deserves... I mean, honestly, we've both said we think that he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. And I think if he gets into the Hall of Fame, that's when you could celebrate him as with a retired number
at this
and maybe
point,
a statue.
The only way he gets in is by virtue of the Veterans League.
Which I think could happen when it's fellow Hall of Famers.
No! The problem with that is most of the guys that are on that are guys that are angry about the steroid era. So it's going to have to wait till those guys die off. We're going to have a smaller pool of guys at that point. But, man, I don't know. It's going to be rough. Okay, with that, Rich, we got... zero esports news. Spoiler. We're going to talk about The Masked Singer. If you don't want to know about it, it's been 2 weeks. Spoiler alert. Go watch it.
All right, Mike, so we have the finals of the Buffaloes and the Wasp.
Yeah. I think those were the right two in the finale. I genuinely do.
Yep, I agree.
I would like to have seen... I was disappointed in who won.
Okay.
As... Well, I'm not disappointed that they won. I'm disappointed in the concept of groups as a whole. I think groups should be their own thing in Masked Singer. I don't think... I think that killed the Wasp. I think the Wasp did amazing, but the Buffaloes ended up winning. And I like what you told me earlier about it. So I was slightly disappointed.
That was
go ahead.
You considered only the performances that happened in the finals.
Yeah.
The Buffaloes were better.
Yeah.
If you took their entire body of work over the entire season, I would have given the edge to the Wasp.
Yeah, and I 100% agree with that. I think the Buffalo... I think the problem with the Buffalo, and they talked about it a lot, they threw their voices. And they tried to do things
and they changed
differently.
Who was the dominant or the lead singer.
Right.
Which wasn't the case for the actual group. The actual group, Mario was the Wasp.
Took second. Did great.
Took second. And it was Boys to Men. The remaining members of Boys to Men were the Buffaloes.
Yeah, and when they got into the finals, they 100% just took over.
Because they were finally able to do what they do best.
Yeah. So, it was great. I loved it. I'm back. I mean, I love the show. I think it's a great show. So,
yeah. I mean, the only thing I thought would have been funny, and maybe this is how they get her back onto the show as a judge, is they have Nicole Scherzinger be in the show as a. Does
anybody know why Nicole left?
As a contestant? She is currently on Broadway right now.
I like it.
She's performing in Broadway. So you bring her in as a contestant, and it's not like the gimmicky contestant like when they brought Nick Cannon back as the host when he took a couple weeks off.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think she totally could do it.
Have her be in the show, whether she makes the finals and wins the entire thing, and then when she's unmasked as the winner, she can say, "I'm going to be back on the panel next year, guys."
Yeah, I can go with that. So, okay, with that, Rich, people are watching us on YouTube. They want to participate in our poll questions. Where should they do that?
Look us up on Facebook at Fans of Balls and Sticks or Balls and Sticks. You can also find the poll questions by searching for Mike and I on Facebook as well. Mike, if they're watching us here on the YouTube and they want to just listen to the audio version and maybe take us wherever it is they go around town, where can they find it?
You can find it wherever you find your podcast. I've actually got it updated now, Rich, so we are up to date, except for this episode, which I'll put live as soon as we get done.
All right, Mike. So with all that done, do you have any shout-outs before we roll out?
I did have a shout out, but I can't remember what it was.
My shout-out be my nephew Reed. He'll be his birthday over on New Year's Eve.
He's a New Year's Eve baby?
Yeah.
Nice. Oh, Eisen's birthday is New Year's Eve as well. So, friend of the show.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, Mike. So with all that being said and done, we will talk with you all next week. So, Mike, why don't you go ahead and roll that outro?
Broadcasting live from somewhere in Iowa. This is Balls and Sticks, the podcast, with your hosts, Mike and Rich.